welcome to your MPC-005 Unit 1 of Block 1. In our today's unit, we will be discussing the basic concepts in research and we'll try to understand and evaluate what all things makes research special. So the objectives for our today's unit are to learn about the definition and meaning of research. So how do we define research, what it is, and how is it have been defined by various researchers and psychologists in the past. Apart from that, we'll try to understand what are the criteria of good research, because our today's particularly this course plan is concerned with research methods and research in psychology. Hence, it is important to know what is good research. So we'll try to learn the criteria of good research. Along with that, we'll also learn the objectives of good research as well as qualities of a good research. All right, so this will be our today's objective for this particular unit. Now, something that I want you to think about is that research in itself is a process. All right, this is a process through which we acquire new knowledge and we discover new knowledge. And this could be, let's say that a theory is developed. So how is a theory developed? And this could be a theory of motivation, development, learning, memory, thinking. So how are these theories developed? These theories are developed through the use of research. So research helps us in organizing the new information into a body which is connected with these ideas, and it further helps us in allowing understanding these concepts better. Okay, so as a researcher, now you all are psychology students and primarily you are also a researcher, regardless of whether you decide to enter the field of clinical psychology or some other field of psychology. Because even in clinical psychology, if you are a clinician, if you are a clinical psychologist, you would try to research what is wrong or what is the possible diagnosis, right? So similarly, research is also something which is connected with searching, looking for information or correcting the previously existing information or building evidence about it. These all things are something that are involved in research. At times, research comes from a space of inspiration and insight where people have certain questions and curiosities that they would like to answer. Not delaying further, and let's get into the meaning of research. So scientific research is a systematic and objective attempt which provides answers to certain questions. So as I said, the purpose of research is to either discover or develop an organized body of knowledge. And this body of knowledge is not limited to the certain aspect, right? So scientific research can be defined as systematic and empirical analysis as well as recording of the observations which are being made. So the word research, as you know, is composed of two syllables, re and search. So when you define the former, which is re, it means again, new, or over again. And latter means examining closely or carefully. So this is something that we call research as that you re-examine something, you re-evaluate something, you retest something, and that is when you make or form research. Something that I want you to remember is that research has further been defined by various other scientists. So Kerlinger defined research as a systemic, controlled, empirical, and critical investigation of hypothetical propositions about the presumed relationship about various phenomena. So let's say if you want to study about what are the effects of cognitive styles or thinking styles on a person's perception. Okay, so you have two variables in it, and let's say you form a hypothetical proposition that rational people who think rationally have a rational perspective towards the world or are better in analytical processes. Okay, this is a hypothetical proposition that I'm putting forward. Now, you as someone would want to evaluate this. So in order to evaluate it, you will systematically assess it in a controlled environment and you'll try to empirically find evidence for it. Okay, so this is what research is about. Burns in 1994 also defined research as a systematic investigation to find answers to a problem. So there are various types of research out there. Some research are concerned with finding answers to problems. Some research is concerned with developing theories. Other research is also concerned with probably ensuring what evidence is present and maybe building something more. Okay. Hence, the term research refers to the systematic method of consisting of enunciating the problem, formulating a hypothesis, collecting the facts or data, analyzing the facts, and reaching conclusions either in the form of solution towards the problem or in form of generalization to develop a theoretical basis for it. Okay, so I hope you have understood what is the concept of research, how it has been defined over the years, and how we understand it. All right, moving ahead next, what are the criteria of good research? So you yourself, what do you think makes a research good? So one of the things is purpose. Purpose of a research, which is also the rationale of a research, should be very clear. Why is someone doing this research? Is there a social value to it? Is there a scientific value? Is it going to change the lives of people? So purpose of research should be clearly defined, and concepts that are used have to be operationally defined. This is also known as operational definition or measurable definition. So just for your understanding, measurable definition. Operational definition is when you try to define something, how you will study it in your study or in your research. Okay, so if I say thinking style, I might say it is the preference of using one system over another. Right, this is something that I can say if I want to talk about operational definition. So every variable has a different definition in certain researches. However, certain universal variables are defined by previously adopted research. Okay, so purpose of your research should be extremely clear, and you should define the common concepts in it. Next is the procedure. There is a necessity for a procedure in research. It cannot be haphazard. It has to follow a set of plan, a way of conduction, and how you will make it happen. So the research procedure should be effectively planned, focused, and appropriately described in order to enable other researchers to do the same research. See, one of the biggest scientific element of research is that it should be replicable. You should be able to replicate the research. You can only replicate research if the previous researcher has given you the procedure or has laid down what all they used, right? So similarly, even you as a researcher have to follow the same elements, that you have to lay down your procedure in such a manner that exact replication of it can occur to further evaluate your results. So what did we say? That research is all about re-evaluation. Okay. Next is research design, which we will be covering in our further ahead units. So whatever design that you are choosing, however, should be carefully planned to generate results in order to maintain objectivity. Think about it, that if you are using a research which is correlational in nature, however, you have a comparative research design or a research design which is more suited for comparative studies, what happens is we ultimately lose sight of things, right? This is something that would happen. So we have to make sure this does not happen, and we are able to adequately plan and use a specific research design. Next is whatever research report you are writing, these are your empirical papers, your thesis, and your other studies. Whatever research report you are writing, you have to be frank and you have to be open and authentic about what had happened. Okay, so whatever you are writing should indicate that yes, these effects were discovered through the findings, and this is something that we concluded. All right, moving ahead next, data analysis and research report should again be of adequate level to reveal the significance and method of analysis employed. So whenever you are employing a data analysis, it should match with research design. Let's say you want to see if one variable predicts the value of another variable. Okay, if I want to assess that if smoking is a predictor of anxiousness, but I am using an analysis of ANOVA. Now, what does ANOVA tells us? ANOVA tells us comparison, difference. But what should I have used instead? I should have used linear regression. Okay, so this is something that we have to take care of, that whatever data we are using, it is in consistency with the research design that we had adopted. Lastly, you should always use valid and reliable data, and hence validity and reliability of data should also be examined. Certain institutions and research committees plan to do a data audit where they try to evaluate whether the data is good enough for performing an analysis or not. Most of the times what happens is people ultimately fail to realize the importance of valid data, and this could really be harmful in terms of determining what to do next. Because if you do not have valid data, or if whatever scale or psychometric tool you used for measuring the variable, it was not valid and reliable, the results that you would get are not reliable. So your study might become significant and it will be a false positive significance, or it might become insignificant, which could again be a false negative. So to avoid such incidents, you have to make sure that your data is reliable and valid. Okay, so these are few criteria of good research that I would like all of you to abide by in the future as you move ahead to do research. Moving ahead, next we have the objectives of good research. So when we talk about objectives of good research, they're different than criteria. Now we know that the purpose of research is to discover the answer to questions, right? And in this discovery, we try to apply the methods of scientific procedure and then discover the answer. So the main aim of research is to find out what is hidden and what has not been discovered yet. All right. However, each research study would have its own specific purpose, but this is a broad mean that every researcher has in mind. So whatever research objectives we have, they follow into certain elements. All right. And there are few objectives of a good research. So first is that objective of a good research is to gain familiarity with the phenomena or to achieve new insights into it. So this is a study where you try to evaluate and understand the object in view which are exploratory in nature. So you try to put variables into newer settings and you try to explore how they are affecting other things. Like if you go back to the previous famous experiments that have been done, there are always multiple stages to it, right? So any exploratory research study focuses on understanding and as well as gaining familiarity with the phenomena in order to achieve insight about it. Maybe we do not know what this phenomena truly is. So when people were trying to discover more about memory, this was something which was at the main area that they were trying to explore what is this particular element. Okay. Next is to portray accurately the characteristics of a particular individual, situation, or group. These are your primarily known as descriptive research, where studies with this objective emphasize on identifying a particular sample. So here you are trying to form descriptives of the sample of the population. You're trying to understand what are the characteristics that are prevalent, what are the characteristics which are not prevalent, how people behave in certain situations. So you just describe data without making any conclusion. Okay. Next is to determine the frequency with which something occurs with which it is associated with. So these studies are also known as diagnostic research studies, where you try to find out if something is causing another thing, or if element or existence of a certain element in this amount of frequency can increase that. So let's say that being anxious for 2 weeks can make you prone to smoking. Maybe I want to study this, right? So I might try to understand how is this evaluation coming through. So this would be a diagnostic research study. Next is that if you want to test a hypothesis of a causal relationship between variables, and these studies are also known as hypothesis testing research or experimental studies. Okay, so in this you formulate a hypothetical assumption which is known as hypothesis. So this could also be, let me give you an example. You want to understand the smoking and anxiousness, right? So you might formulate a hypothesis that there is no significant relationship between smoking and anxiousness. Now I want to prove this hypothesis or disprove this hypothesis. Either of these things would be there. So in order to do that, I will be doing a hypothesis testing research or an experimental study. All right. With this, I conclude the objectives of good research. So understand that research is one of the biggest elements or wells of knowledge for the sake of knowledge, and an important source of providing guidelines for solving different problems. Okay, and these problems could be business, personal, professional, social, any nature. And research is a form of formal training which enables you to understand the new developments in the field. See, if you're not reading the frequent researches which are being published, researches that are getting published day by day, or maybe some new concepts that are emerging. Now, if you look in the field of psychology, there is a big merger going on between cognitive science and artificial intelligence. So they're trying to understand consciousness, they're trying to understand theory of mind, and we would not know that all these things are happening if we are not open to learning about the research concepts. Okay, so we have to keep ourselves updated, one research paper a day or one research paper a week, whatever about the topic that interests you would be really good to go about. All right. Coming ahead to the next concept, what are the qualities of good research? So when we talk about qualities of good research has certain specific qualities. So first is that good research is systematic in nature. This means that whatever research is being done, it is structured according to the set of rules to follow certain steps in specified sequence. So over here, you are being systematic. You have 1, 2, 3. This is how we have to go. These are the steps that we will be taking. And systematic research also gives you the opportunity to creatively think and avoid using guessing or intuition for arriving at the conclusion, because you know that you have to fulfill these many steps in order to arrive at the conclusion. Okay. Next is that good research is also empirical. It means that any conclusion, whatever is being drawn, it is based upon evidence that have been gathered from the information that was collected from real life experiences and observation. So this empirical medium could be either in form of data that is there, or in form of particular interviews or observations, right? So different research would adopt different empirical means. All right, moving ahead, next we have good research which is valid and verifiable. So any research which is valid, how would we know that it is valid, right? That a research is known as valid when it uses instruments that are reliable and valid. So research involves observation and accurate description of the phenomena that you are trying to study. So researcher need to choose medium of data collection or tools for data collection that have reliability and validity for that particular variable. Okay. Along with this, the usage of statistical measures for accurate description should also be there. This also includes your measures of central tendency, such as normality, skewness, kurtosis, these concepts. And whatever is being concluded in the research is on the basis of finding, and it is correct. And if it is on the basis of finding, it can be verified by us as well as other individuals. Okay. Another element is that good research is logical in nature. Logic is a huge element of research, and logical research suggests that when you are guided by rules of reasoning and logical processes of induction, which means you move from a general view to a specific conclusion, and deduction thinking, deductive reasoning, you go from specific to general, this plays an important role in carrying out research. So logical reasoning allows you to make research more feasible and meaningful in the context of decision making, as well as it helps you in understanding that whatever has been done, there was a reason behind it. Okay, it wasn't just done because I felt like it, right? So that should be there. Next is that good research develops theories and principles. So whenever a research is being done, and these theories and principles can be developed, and these theories and principles are extremely helpful in accurately predicting the variables under the study. So on the basis of the sample which has been observed and studied, researcher makes sound generalization regarding the population as a whole. So if I study a huge sample of from a population, let's say from a city called Delhi, if I'm using people from that population and I want to make anxiousness leads to smoking, so I can generalize my findings to that particular population. Okay, so research goes beyond the immediate situation, objects or groups it also allows you to generalize and develop a theory about the factors that you are developing. You all might have come across Wechsler's scale of intelligence or Wechsler's memory scale, right? How did they develop? Or what is the theoretical basis of those scales? They're all based in research. So they had performed an extensive study on memory and intelligence, and that's how they came to a conclusion for developing this particular scale and theory. All right. Similarly, for working memory model, and if you, some of you, if you have been fortunate enough to do the N-back test, the verbal working memory test, that is also something which measures along the same lines. Okay. Next is that research is replicable in nature. So the designs, procedures, and result of scientific research should be replicable to any person other than the researcher themselves. This means that there is a validity to research. If a research can be replicated, it means that I, as well as somebody else, can assess those results which have been there. See, what happens at times is when there is a groundbreaking finding, we think that yes, this might be true, right? And we easily adopt it. However, that is not what happens in research. When there is a groundbreaking finding, people try to validate it in a form or in a way where they try to replicate the research and see if we are able to yield the similar result. Okay, so hence one research may use or transit the results obtained by another research. This is why procedures and results of the research are replicable as well as transmittable. Okay, so these are the qualities of good research, and you will see how objectives, criteria, and qualities kind of overlap with one another. Okay. That'll be all for our today's session. I hope it was all clear to you. You have all understood the definition of research, how we define research, who are the two principal people in defining research. Then we have also understood the various criteria of a good research, what comes under good research, and we have also understood the objectives as well as qualities of good research. With this, I end our today's session, and I hope it was insightful for you all, and I hope it was not a lot to take in. We'll be taking research methodology quite slowly because this is a relatively bigger and more intimidating unit. If in case you have any doubts or any queries, do read up about it. Until then, thank you, as well as see you in the next lesson. Happy learning all.